They call it imposter syndrome. The feeling that you don't belong, that you're a fraud, and that everyone is about to find out. My wife Isabella never had imposter syndrome. She had the opposite. She truly believed she was the genius, even though she couldn't write a single line of code if her life depended on it. My name is Daniel. I'm 34. I'm a full-stack developer and a specialist in AI architecture. 5 years ago, Isabella and I started a company called Aura. The premise was revolutionary, an AI that could predict supply chain disruptions weeks before they happened. Here was the division of labor. Isabella was the CEO. She was the face. She had the MBA, the looks, the charm, and the ability to sell sand in a desert. I was the CTO, Chief Technology Officer. I was the brain. I built Aura from scratch. I wrote every line of the proprietary algorithm in our basement, while Isabella was out networking at cocktail parties. We had an agreement. She handled the business. I handled the tech. We were partners in life and in equity. We were 50-50 owners, or so I thought. As Aura grew, so did Isabella's ego. We landed a massive Series B funding round. We moved into a glass office in downtown San Francisco. We were featured in Forbes. But in every interview, Isabella started using the word I instead of we. I built this system. I designed the architecture. When I confronted her, she'd laugh it off. Danny, don't be sensitive. The investors want a strong female leader narrative. It's just marketing. You know who really runs the show. I let it slide. I loved her. I didn't care about the fame, I just wanted to build cool stuff. But then the investor came into the picture. His name was Julian. He was a partner at a major venture capital firm. Slick, older, private jets, the whole cliché. He led our latest funding round. Suddenly Julian was at every meeting. He and Isabella would have strategy dinners that went until 2 a.m. Isabella started criticizing my work. Julian thinks the UI looks dated, Daniel. Julian thinks we need to pivot the codebase. Julian says you're thinking too small. I started to feel like an employee in my own marriage. But I didn't realize I was actually being marked for termination. Part 2. The Slack notification. The discovery happened on a Tuesday. It's always a Tuesday. Isabella had left her laptop open in the conference room to grab a coffee. We were syncing our screens for a demo presentation. A Slack notification popped up on her screen. It wasn't from our company workspace. It was a private DM from Julian. Julian, did you get him to sign the IP transfer yet? My blood ran cold. IP transfer? The intellectual property was already owned by the company. Or it should have been. I quickly clicked on the window. I had about 2 minutes before she returned. I scrolled up. What I found wasn't just an affair. It was a corporate assassination plot. Isabella, not yet. He's asking questions about the equity dilution. He's annoying. Julian, baby, we need that IP fully assigned to the new holding company before the acquisition. Once he signs, we can trigger the performance clause and fire him. You'll be the sole founder. Isabella, I know. I can't wait to be done with him. He's such a gloomy weight around my neck. Last night he tried to explain the algorithm to me again. Boring. I just want him gone so we can celebrate properly in Cabo. Julian, soon. Just get the signature. Then you and I run the show and the bedroom. I took photos of the screen with my phone. My hands were shaking so hard the first picture was blurry. She was sleeping with him. That hurt. But the fact that she was planning to steal my life's work, force me out of the company I built, and leave me with nothing, That didn't just hurt. That clarified things. Isabella walked back in with her oat latte. "Ready for the demo, babe?" She smiled. That shark smile. "Almost," I said, typing furiously on my own keyboard. "Just fixing a bug in the kernel." "Good," she said, checking her hair in the reflection of the monitor. "Make sure it runs perfectly. Julian is bringing the board today." Part 3. The update. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I went back to my office, and I did what I do best. I coded. You see, Isabella and Julian made one critical mistake. They assumed that because they had the money and the titles, they had the power. But in a tech company, the person with the power isn't the CEO. It's the person who holds the keys to the repository. I looked at the IP transfer document she wanted me to sign later. It was clever. It transferred all my rights to a new entity controlled by Julian, stripping me of my founder status. If I didn't sign, they would sue me and bury me in legal fees. If I did sign, they would fire me. So, I chose option C, the nuclear option. I pushed a new update to the Aura codebase. I called it Project Icarus. It wasn't a virus. It wasn't malware. I didn't delete anything. That would be illegal destruction of property. Instead, I simply encrypted the core reasoning engine, the brain of the AI, with a new authentication protocol. The protocol required a specific biometric key, my fingerprint, and a 64-character hash rate to be entered every 24 hours. If the key wasn't entered, the AI wouldn't stop working. No, that would be too obvious. Instead, the AI would slowly start to degrade. It would become dumb. It would start hallucinating. It would give random answers. I buried this protocol deep in the kernel, compiled it, and pushed it to the live server. Then, I packed my personal things into a box. Isabella came to my desk at 5 p.m. "Here are the papers Julian's lawyers sent," she said, dropping a thick stack on my desk. "Just standard stuff to prepare for the next funding round." "Sign them tonight?" "Sure," I lied. "I'll read them over dinner." "Oh, I can't do dinner," she said quickly. "Business meeting with the Asia team." "Right," I said. "Give my regards to Julian." She paused, looking at me sharply, but I kept my face blank. "I will," she said, and walked away. Part 4. The keynote. 2 days later, the Aura Global Summit. This was the big event. The acquisition was supposed to be announced live on stage. A tech giant was buying Aura for $200 million. Isabella was on stage in a white power suit. Julian was in the front row, looking smug. I was not invited. I was supposedly sick. Actually, I was at home watching the live stream with a bowl of popcorn and a glass of scotch. My phone buzzed. It was a text from the server. "System alert. Authentication required. 48 hours since last login." I didn't authenticate. I took a sip of scotch. On screen, Isabella was hyping up the crowd. "Aura isn't just software. It's an oracle. Let's do a live demonstration." She walked over to the terminal. The massive screen behind her showed the Aura interface. "I'm going to ask Aura to analyze the global supply chain for lithium batteries and predict the pricing for Q4, she announced confidently. She typed the query. The loading bar spun. Usually, this takes 2 seconds. It took 10. Isabella laughed nervously. "She's thinking hard today. Must be the Wi-Fi." Julian shifted in his seat. Then, the answer appeared on the 50-foot screen. Aura response. "Lithium is a song by Nirvana. Batteries taste like copper. Buy more pineapples." The crowd went silent. Isabella stared at the screen. Let's try that again." She typed another query. "Analyze shipping routes for the Suez Canal." Aura response. "The canal is wet. Have you considered swimming? Julian is cheating on his taxes. Okay, I admit. I hard-coded that last part as a specific Easter egg if the degradation reached 20%. The audience started murmuring. People were taking out their phones. Julian stood up, waving his hands at the technical team in the wings. Isabella was sweating. We seem to be having a minor glitch. Tech support? She looked at the side of the stage. The lead engineer, a junior guy I hired, shrugged helplessly. He didn't know the kernel code. Only I did. My phone rang. It was Isabella. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Julian. Voicemail. Then a text from Isabella. Where are you? Fix this now. We are live. I replied. I'm reading the IP transfer papers. The fine print is fascinating. Part 5. The negotiation. The presentation was a disaster. They had to cut the feed. The stock price of the acquiring company dipped just from the rumor of the failure. An hour later, Isabella and Julian stormed into my house. What did you do? Isabella screamed, her mascara running. You ruined everything. You sabotaged the code. I didn't sabotage anything, I said calmly, sitting on the couch. I just implemented a security feature. The system requires the founder's authentication to verify it hasn't been stolen. Since you were planning to steal it, the system protected itself. Fix it, Julian barked, getting in my face. Fix it right now, or I'll sue you into oblivion. Go ahead, I said. Sue me. The discovery phase will be fun. I'll subpoena your texts, your emails, and that PDF where you outlined the plan to defraud a founder. Julian froze. You have that? I have everything, I said. And here is the situation. The code is currently useless. It's encrypted with a key that exists only in my head. If I don't input it in the next 12 hours, the database wipes itself as a failsafe. Isabella fell to her knees. Actually fell. It was dramatic. Danny, please, we can work this out. We're partners. I love you. I laughed. It was a cold, dry sound. Save the acting for the TED Talk, Izzy. Here are my terms. I slid a document across the table. 1. You and Julian resign from the board effective immediately. 2. I retain 100% of the IP rights. 3. You buy out my equity share right now, at the valuation set before today's crash. That's $50 million. That's blackmail, Julian shouted. No, I corrected him. That's a bug bounty. Part 6. The reboot. They fought it for about an hour. But the clock was ticking. The acquiring company was calling, threatening to pull the deal entirely if the glitch wasn't fixed. They needed me. They signed. They transferred the funds. Julian had to liquidate a lot of personal assets to cover it. I typed the code into my laptop, authenticated the server, and Aura went back to being a genius instantly. The acquisition went through, but with a caveat. The buying company realized Isabella was incompetent, and Julian was a liability. Once they saw the code documentation and realized I was the sole architect, they fired Isabella a week after the check cleared. Since I had sold my shares, I was out. I took my $50 million and walked away. The aftermath was satisfying in a slow-burn way. Isabella tried to spin the story that I was an abusive husband who held the company hostage, but the tech world talks. Engineers looked at the code logs. They saw who built it and who broke it. Her reputation as a tech genius evaporated. She's now trying to launch a lifestyle brand on Instagram. It's not going well. Julian faced an investigation from his own VC firm after I anonymously leaked the texts about him conspiring to defraud a founder. He was quietly pushed out of his partnership. As for me, I took a year off. I traveled to Japan. I learned to surf. I started a new company recently. It's small, just me and a few friends. No sharks, no suits. I also updated my relationship status. And I added a new line to my resume. Specialist in disaster recovery and garbage removal. Sometimes being the code monkey pays off. You just have to know when to stop typing and start deleting.